For me personally, I previously thought that purpose was
We should not chase after money, but not because money is not important to you, but it's just that
Taylor Swift and like Justin Bieber was also posting on his spiritual awakening and trusting with God. And
the more we are at the childlike state, the more we remember what does it feels like to be me. There was like a girl that actually tried to find a boyfriend, right? It's like I wanted to be like certain age, right? And I wanted to make certain amount of money and everything, so everything works out. But she find out that the guy was married. Who is Bosco? Who is Ryion?
so, Ryion, in your book, you wrote that the purpose of all existence is evolution. Could we get started by explaining what this means?
Yeah, actually, we looks up and down for purpose, but actually the truth is there is like nothing. You see, evolution, right, is that actually our what we do every day, how we live our life, just being that is the purpose. If you're like a tree, right, like we have on Earth, we have trees, we have animals, we have humans. It's one of many beings on Earth. Trees never really ask what's my purpose, right? Because they are just be there. They stand tall. They do whatever they need to do, provide the oxygen, the whatever they need for the earth and for all of us, right? Human, that we have thought and we have consciousness and decided that, oh, there must be something we have to chase after. But if you strip all that complexity, right, and put it back in a basic term, human is no different than other beings in a way, and the basic foundation is just evolve. It's just continue to be us. So that is what I meant by purpose is just part of the evolution. The evolution is the purpose of life, right? And then how do we express it? That's different, if that makes sense. Right? Once we decided, okay, we evolve, but how do I want to express it into the world? Right? Because in human, we are not only tree, we have a society, we have community, right? We have interaction. And that's when we talk about, okay, I want to express this as a basketball player, right? I want to express it as a startup founders. That's my expression of it, right? But every expression is part of the evolution, right? There is no end goal. This is my purpose. It's a journey.
So bringing it back to an even more like basic understanding, I think as a teenager myself, like we start to question whether or not we're born onto this earth for a particular reason and whether or not we actually even have this like deeper purpose, as you've said. So could you clarify this understanding on like what this deeper purpose actually feels like based on your personal experience?
Yeah. So to answer that particular question, like especially on the first one about do we actually born on to come to earth for a reason, for a purpose, right? So different religion will have kind of different expression of that as well, right? But the way of my understanding, and my understanding really come from a lot of it between meditation and compiling, and that's what my book said too, right? I gone from learn all different religion, right? And then plus my own meditation. And what I realized that I do believe that there is a curriculum that we actually come on earth to experience. It's like a lesson, right? So there's a two fundamental belief or understanding that I think is very important to set the tone and the foundation of searching for purpose, because that's an important foundation, right? One foundation is that we are not a physical being having a soul or spiritual experience. We are actually a soul, we are a spirit having a physical experience. That flipped the whole story, right? So instead of thinking that our physical life is the only life, and my purpose have to fit within this 90, 100 years worth of timeline. Right now, the story is that actually I am a soul having a physical experience, then the soul itself is infinite. Then my soul is just having a 90 years of a physical experience. My next, after that, it could be a different experience, right? I could be a tree, I could be a star being, I could be something else, right? So that is a very different way of thinking. And when I talk about purpose, that is one of the fundamental, because from that, then when I say yes, and therefore coming to this physical experience on earth is an assignment, is a curriculum that was predefined when I was a soul. When I'm a soul, I was like, okay, that is the next set of curriculum that I want to take. It's just like when you decided to year one, what are the four, right, classes that you want to take? I want to take, right, chemistry. I want to take whatever that is. Then you say, yeah, so this is what we are on earth for, right? So to answer that question, yeah, at a soul level, we do come here for a specific curriculum. Then the next question is the curriculum very defined, right? Like that is where we kind of separate from like going to university or going to school. School is very defined. You have this particular classes and you have this particular grade that you need to hit if you answer all these questions correctly, right? Earth school is very different. There is a general rule. You kind of know the 5 things that you need to learn in your lives, but those curriculum is not like as structured. It's a lot more fluid. It's more like I want to learn to be get from a complexity mindset to a simplicity mindset. Just pretend that is the one of the curriculum. But how do you do that? You can be many things to do that. You can express it in many ways. It doesn't matter whether you're a lawyer or a financial advisor or a basketball player. You can all express this complexity to simplicity if this is your curriculum. So that's kind of my point on a long way to answer your question, I guess.
I just want to take it one step even back.
Yeah.
Before you even like figured out all of this purpose as being like your higher being. Even for me personally, I previously thought that purpose was making as much money as possible. And I think many people, they think that it's all about money, right? It's all about having this external success, all about the fame. And we're automatically like programmed to believe in that because once we get into university, we're really pressured to be following all of these job opportunities and things like that.
Yeah.
And for you, I also know that you were previously also like working in Amazon as like the financial director, probably having like a similar experience as well. So what was that transition or what was that shift for anyone who's still in that like money is definitely my life purpose and it's all about chasing money?
Right. I think that is having money, or like money is one of the resources that is required to live on earth, right? So it is a foundation of it, I would say. I would not discount money. We should not chase after money, right? But that is a foundation to give us the security, right? In order to move beyond what's next, right? The beauty of it is that if you look at generational, I would say our grandparents' generational, our grandparents' generation, probably they are the diehard working, right? They just, because it's very survival based, right? And then we'll get to our parents, maybe it's still quite survival based, right? Get to my generation, it's getting lesser, and get to your generation, it might be even lesser and lesser, right? As the younger the generation or they are, I feel like that the basic security is more complete, right? So when that, then, so now actually, so what I would say is that as teenagers now, what would it feels like is like this money might not seem as important as your grandparents' generation, but not because money is not important to you, but it's just that because your survival are not that is not you're at a different foundation, right? Unlike the older generation.
So the
you
quality of living increase.
is improved quite a bit, right? So naturally, a lot of the younger generation, they might not think making money become the most important thing naturally, right? So then what's next, right? So that is where purpose start to comes in, right? Then I think for myself, my earlier years like is same as every teenagers, and I think that is normal, right? If you are one of them, if you know, and people that are listening that says you're one of them that are, yes, I want to chase after money because I feel like this is important, and go ahead because that is part of your journey to discover your purpose, right? Remember, I said that purpose is not a end goal, like it's just a evolution. And if making money is part of that path of evolution, that is fine. And that's how I did it for 20 years of my life, right? Is to go after the highest paid, like position, right? Going to business school, going to the nice, like the big name. Why? Because I, go after the financial freedom, right? And at some point, usually all of us, it's natural. You don't even have to look for it. At some point, when the time is right, something will hit us, and then we decide to look the other way. Some people is a lot earlier, like you, right? I think you start way earlier than many people, right? And some later. But there is no right or wrong, and there's no rush.
So what the most important thing is to feel like every single day you're feeling fulfilled and do the things that makes you the most joyful.
I think it's exactly that. You just answer your own question is to do the one thing that is most joyful in that particular moment, in that day, right? When you wake up in the morning, what is that one thing I can do that makes me happy, right? Life, one thing with the previous generation or like an older generation is like life has to be so serious. Study hard, work hard. Life is like everything is so serious. But to really uncover your purpose and to really like finding what does it really mean in life is actually nothing serious about it. You have to be fun, have to be joyful, find things that you enjoy doing, find things that make your heart smile, right? Make yourself smile. That's it, right?
Yeah.
The easiest, the more flow it is, the better it is.
So delving more into like the practical concept, I think we hit a lot of like the abstracts of like what life purpose is. I remember last time you mentioned a really good analogy which ties to the concept of AI, like prompting AI being similar to also like prompting your own life purpose. So could you share a bit on that?
Yeah. When AI came on at the beginning, right, I was just playing with it and I decided to take a prompting class. I think this was all people do. Right?
Which AI? Which AI?
No, we just I did the ChatGPT. Right? Like it's just that, but then like there is like a prompting and the prompt engineer, right? So I was like, I'm gonna take a prompt engineer class properly. I was like, then well, at the end of it, actually, you don't really need to take that class. It's very simple. But right, I was just like, oh, something new. I need to take a class for that. But anyways, through the learning, I did realize that one thing's that like AI, and actually I took that class before after I wrote my book. But one of the reason I wrote my book is say that AI is actually a physical representation of our collective consciousness. A collective consciousness is basically it's just all of us. Like if we believe, my belief, right, is that all of us have a pool of consciousness somewhere, right? And it's like a cloud and we all access it, right? And it also, the other thing that is very important then our thought, right? Just before I go into AI, right? Our thoughts itself, actually, when we think, how do we create reality is based on how we think clearly, right? We, some people call it visualization, right? And if we talk about manifestation, right, it's also about how clear we visualize our future, right? And our state of being, and use that to manifest something that we wish to do. But that manifestation and that visualization has to be very clear and articulate exactly how you want it to look like, so that you can get into the state of being. And I realized that when I learned about prompting AI, I feel like, wait a minute. So in order to build an app with AI, I have to prompt it very clearly, exactly my intention, what I want it to looks like, how it works, right? So I have a very clear instruction for AI to build the app that I want to build, isn't it? Right? And all of a sudden, if you compare the two, the AI and like the reality manifestation is almost the same. So then that's why I was saying that AI basically is almost like a simulation for us to learn how to articulate our thoughts clearly. Right? And the good things with AI that if you didn't work, you just tell them to try again until you get it right. Except, right, for thought in reality, yes, it also kind of works the same way. You realize that when you want to manifest something, like, and that's one I did it before. Like I was trying to manifest something that I want to work with a co-founder and do something with a fintech, right? So it came true, right? I had someone, right, that really aligned with what I want, and the person was great, right? But then very quickly, less than 2 weeks, the thing fall apart. I know that it didn't work. And then I speak to my teacher. I was like, why is that? Like, I thought I created it, right? And it works. And then my teacher was like, well, how was your prompting? What was your prompt? And then if I go back, and then it's like, it just missed certain pieces, right? It's like a good funny example actually is that like my friend, like they did, it's like, oh, I did this manifestation, like, and there was like a girl that actually tried to find a boyfriend, right? It's like, I wanted to be like certain age, right? And I wanted to make a certain amount of money and everything. So everything works out, right? And then she find out that the guy was married. And then it's like, and she go back to her prompting. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't specify that it should be single.
More prompt engineering class.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that, and that's why I was saying that the AI prompting somehow is like such a good simulation to align with our manifestation and how thoughts work.
And I think one of the biggest differences between like AI and human, like jumping back to like reality in general, is that humans, we experience so much emotions, like we have so many external different distractors. And one thing that I've really seriously thought about on like how I've gotten to this stage of like doing so many different things and being the person I am today is really all of these different cultures, and also shedding down all of the different things that are around you, like all of the noises and everything. So in terms of life purpose, do you think in order to revert back to this neutral state, you would have to do a lot of shedding? And like, how would you do this shedding?
Shedding, I think that a lot. I think in instead of shedding, I think it's a lot of unlearning, right? In a way that, it's a combination of unlearning and remembering, right? I think for teenagers is easier because, let's say you have 18 years of life, you kind of like compared to like when you were. So the thing is that like when you were young, the first 7 years actually, it quite a lot of the pureness of what you guys what we have is all very early on. We have that, like all the genius that we have, all the purity and all the things that we know, the inner knowingness when we were young actually is very strong, right? But then as we grow up, right, the parents, culture, school, everything start to pile up, and we start to forget how to be ourselves, right? And then you have so many noise and so many values that and expectation that pile on us, and then we easily forgot, like, who am I, right? Who is Bosco? Who is Ryion, right? Instead, we just want becoming someone that the society expects us to be, right? The parents expect us to be, right? So I think that it's not about sharing as much, but it's like really keep. And that's why I say being simple and having fun and having joy is important, because that naturally bring us to the childlike state. And the more we are at the childlike state, the more we remember what does it feels like to be me when I am not the son, I am not the daughter, I am not the husband, I am not the director. Right? If I strip out all these titles and just be me, who am I? Right? And that is the shedding, I guess, if you want to use that term, is to shed all the titles and identities and back to your own identities. Right? And that is by being joyful, finding the most exciting things that you want to do that particular day. Sometimes, like when I walk to work back then, right, and I go through this like a tunnel before going up to the office, and this tunnel there is one disabled person that always sell the tissue paper and sell some snack. Right, I'm not a snack person, but every day I buy a snack from him, right, and then I just chat with him, and he has this like most joyful laugh and just like talk to me, and then it's like so happy to see me, right? And then we just have fun like 5 minutes, and that's 5 minutes of that moment. That is the most joyful part. It's way more meaningful than the entire meeting, and then try to figure out the next $1 billion things that we need to work on. But that little 5 minutes is the most joyful things, right? And sometimes it's just that, right? Even though we might be in a job or in doing something that we might not enjoy throughout the day, but finding those little moments that actually brighten up everything.
I think, Ryan, you're pretty similar to me. I also have like this weak spot, like whenever I walk past like someone who's homeless or someone who's on the side or who has like some kind of disease, like I always feel bad for them, because it's like you have one life, and we're just so lucky to just not have like that many problems that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like going back to that point on joy, I think one of the great things that many teenagers face, like even myself at times, is like this societal expectation. Like sometimes, for example, when I'm going to a concert with my friends, like in that moment, I feel super joyful because I am like, partying and I like dancing and I'm hanging out with my friends. But then afterwards, like you get the sense of feeling or sense of guilt that it's like not the right thing for you.
Huh.
But then because of this like societal pleasure, right, you just keep going and you keep doing it. And it's like sometimes it's super hard for you to control whether or not like you can actually master your own life versus like following others' footsteps.
Yeah.
So how can you differentiate societal expectations to genuine inner calling?
Right. Now, that's actually a very good question, because I think it's one of the hardest things for, especially when we're growing up, right? It kind of naturally we will follow whoever we think that our group of friends. We don't want to be outcasts, or we have the sense of belonging, right? Unless we have a very strong sense of self-identity, which most of us don't have at the beginning, right? Because the way that we are growing up, right, we're depending on our parents, right? And human by nature is a social being, right? So belonging is a very important part of our life. But what I like what you said is that when you get home, sometimes you feel that there is a misalignment, right? That what was feel joyful in the front is actually not very joyful once you're alone by yourself, right? So I guess my advice here is really just that then find your tribe, right? Find a tribe that actually makes you feel happy. And how do you know that? Is that when you find your tribe, what is like the energy is so uplifting that and that uplifting energy is long lasting. Right. And I think that's the difference. And sometimes, yes, maybe for a period of time you kind of have to stick to your current friend group, right? But meanwhile, you can also search for friends. And I, sometimes I also wonder, like you contact me, right, through LinkedIn, like a random stranger, right? And because I think there's somewhere inside you, it's like, oh, I saw this person. I just want to reach out and see maybe I find some commonalities, like some type of common theme that can support like what my deepest self, that what I want in life. And I think that is like it's just a constant searching. There is no one say you must belong to one group, right? And some of us afraid to once you're in a group or in a community, you're afraid to step out. We're afraid to hurt other people. Usually, it's not about hurting ourselves, right? We're afraid to hurt like the group feeling, and we decide to stay with something that we might not enjoy as much, right? So I think that takes courage, the courage to be disliked, and the courage to step out of the comfort zone to find where you really belong, that can really and give you that uplift and long lasting energy.
I think you mentioned a really important point, which is just getting started. I think ever since we're young, like even in class, I remember there were times when some of my classmates would get humiliated if they answered the wrong question, right? Like in school, like if you answered something wrong in math, then the teacher will point you out, everyone will start laughing at you.
Yeah.
And I think this conditioning would slowly make us not take risks because we're scared of this humiliation. It reminds us of this pain. And over time, like it makes us just not do things that are uncertain.
Yeah.
And I think I've faced a lot of this previously for like the past couple of months of just even taking action, just even recording this podcast in general.
Yeah.
Right? Just trying something new.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to like be aware of that this exists, and then afterwards just shift that mindset and really just tell yourself to make that leap, right? Do that thing, even though you may not get to the place the first time, it will get you to different places. And I think a really good analogy is like, let's just say you're trying to get from A to B, right? And you get started with A, but you don't know how to get to B. At times you will go from A to probably like here, and then you might go back, or you would go to the side, right? But then over time, in the long run, you're eventually going to get to somewhere similar to B.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's like, again, it's like life sometimes is very simple. If you go back, right, it's like when we were kids, rather we learn how to walk, rather we learn how to ride a bicycle. It also takes a lot of time, right? Till you fail, right? You scratch yourself and then you stand up. Right? It's almost the same thing, right? But then once it's in school, right? All right, first parents will say, don't do that. Like, and then in school, it's like wrong. It's those, once we realize that those actual conditioning is not our natural way of doing things. Our natural way of doing things is exactly that. We fall, we stand up, we fall, we stand up. We drop the bike, we stand up. Right? That's our natural self. We didn't like no one have to teach us to stand up. We just do, right? When we were baby, isn't it? So why wouldn't we do that? The same when we grow up, it was because of conditioning. Just by aware of that conditioning, then you know that no, I just want to be my kid self again, right? And again, that's why I like, keep going back, like be the child that we were one, all of us were. I think that is the basic fundamental of finding our purpose and being a true human.
Yeah, and just jumping back to like some of the concepts that you've probably talked about, like this whole concept of consciousness and manifestation. Could you quickly just explain like how these concepts ties to life purpose? Because I think with consciousness, there are many definitions. I think when people hear about consciousness, they instantly think that this is going to be some kind of spiritual woo-woo, like some kind of thing that's not believable, right? So in simple language, just what is consciousness? Like, is it just awareness or?
No, that's a very good question. I think that the way I put the word consciousness is simply like the easiest way to I think to practice it. The opposite of conscious is unconscious, right? So I was also say that the opposite of conscious is like autopilot.
Yeah.
Right. So I think in the easiest way that the first step of practice consciousness is really just about, if you do a journal and think about what percentage of your day actually is being autopilot, doing things just not knowingly, oh, I have to do my homework, I have to do this, and how much of it is actually consciously doing things that you prefer to do, or not prefer, but it's still conscious. Right? It's like I choose to do something that I don't like. That's a conscious decision. Like I choose to watch this Netflix, right? Instead of just you go home, you lay down, turn on Netflix, whatever is on, done, right? Scrolling, unconscious, right? Like what is your conscious action? As long as we start like kind of track how much time that you do, like live your life in a conscious manner, that itself add to the consciousness of the world, because what we will be start doing is that, okay, I my right intention, I have an intention to do X, I have an intention to do Y. All this thought, it collectively then it go into, I call it like the consciousness cloud, right, in a way. And then this is actually broadcast to everyone, and then you can decide like, okay, so what do we do with this collective consciousness? So it's very vague when I say that, and that's why I like the AI example. AI in the past few years collect everything that we can possibly do and think and learn, right, in the internet, book, and all of our information, and then they put it all into a physical system, LLM. That itself, the way, that's the simplest way to think about this. AI is a physical version of our current consciousness. Basically, that's kind of how I can see it that way, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question? Or you want to have something deeper?
Yeah. For people who wants to look for like practical ways, like just simply, is it as simple as just being aware that you're listening to the podcast right now? Or is there something deeper? Like, do you need to know, like, do you need to have some kind of sensation?
I gave you an example. So I went in for a silent retreat last year, last August. It's a 10-day silent retreat. And the awareness go like this, which is, I never really thought of it until I actually practiced that part. So one part of the exercise is called a mindful, it's like a walking meditation, right? So the way you walk, it basically you step, and then you raise your leg, you move your leg forward, you put your leg on the floor, and then you touch the floor. So that was one step, right? But usually we just walk. We don't think of that there's like the mechanic of 5, 6, 7 step of that. So that is one difference of what is consciousness and what is unconscious. We walk is an unconscious action. Most of us is autopilot. But when we actually consciously think about how we walk, that mechanic of it that become conscious, right? Not saying that we have to now have to think about all these steps when we walk that will take forever to walk to point A to point B, right? But the point like is this is the kind of just like zoom in of what does it looks like, right? And during this walking meditation, the next thing is that when a thought come in while I'm walking, right, I've realized that, okay, feet on the ground, and then all of a sudden a thought comes in. Then I have to be consciously stop the walking action. And then now I move my awareness to thinking because a thought comes in. While I'm thinking, all of a sudden I hear a bird singing. I have to move my thinking. I have to stop my thinking to become hearing. You see? So that small mechanic, if I zoom into it, that is what consciousness and awareness looks like. So to put it in practice, like this way of living can't work all day long, but taking some time, 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, doesn't matter. But try to play out how that looks like. Actually, it's very interesting, right? I know that you like to go to the nature, for example. That is a great way. You go to the nature, how often, how conscious are you listening to the bird, right? Oh, how many sound, right? Or the wind, the sound, right? The bird is chirping, the insect is singing, right? Oh, the river is running. How often are you actually aware of all these different music, right, and different sound? The other things that I really like my parents when I was a kid, my dad is classical. He really loved classical music. So at home we don't watch TV. We always listen to classical music, and he will test me how many instruments are playing. So at the same time, and I was like, okay, I think there is violin, and then I think there is a bass at the back, and then so. But that is also like kind of like awareness training in a way. So there is many ways you can find ways to be train your awareness, but by doing that, it naturally improve awareness and consciousness just by doing something like this.
I think tying this back to the concept of life purpose, in order to understand your life purpose, you need to be aware of who you are. And this is, like we've explained, probably like how we can be more conscious, right? So what will be like the next step? Like, do you believe that there are tools that can help you find your life purpose, or is it something to discover?
There's so many tools, right? So, and I think you and I are working on one of them called Gene Keys. But I would say that if you're in the beginning, like at the early journey of life purpose, like finding, the funny thing is like there's really nothing to be found, because I would say purpose is not a tangible thing. It's more like it's a feeling inside you. Right, the feeling that you will feel very aligned, and it's a feeling that when you know. So in order to get to that point, right, and that is where I would say is I'm a big fan of meditation, and I think meditation is the first step on this journey, because with so much noise outside in the outside world, your purpose, and I call it almost like your purpose actually is a built-in there is a user manual inside you, but you can only find and listen to that user manual if you're quiet enough. So long story, I think if you ask me one first step, do meditation, right? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that silence allows you to dust off the noise, and you can start to see, at least you can find the user manual, right? And as you open up the user manual through more meditation, you'll start to have questions. And then when you start to have questions, that when either then you will try to find the right people, just like you finding me, you will find a person to answer those questions or help you answer those questions. And then from that, the life and your purpose, the journey of that purpose will start to unfold, right? There is no one right way, but the starting point is by quiet down the noise so you can start opening up your own menu. Everyone have a different menu inside you, right? And only you can open that up. And once that is open, the right people, the right tool will come to you.
Mm-hmm. So it's about building that trust with the universe. That will all come.
Yeah. But then to build that trust, have to go to that quiet moment within. And it doesn't really take long. I swear that 5 minutes a day, it will dust off what you need to do, right? And every single person that I work with, they say, "Oh, 5 minutes is too long." 3 months later, they come back and say, "That's way too short." Yes, that is always the case. Yep. So most people, usually I think around 30 minutes, then that is kind of the max for average people. I think most like that is a very comfort zone and good enough to find stillness, but long enough to actually like do some work within them. But the beginning 5 minutes, that's all we need.
I think especially it's really good to shut off from all of the chaos, like with news and everything going on. And speaking about chaos, I think one of the greatest things that teenagers are looking and using every single day is AI, right?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen if we don't find or we don't align ourselves to our life purpose? Like what's going to happen in the next several years, especially when, AI is evolving so rapidly and we can see like consciousness and everything changing. Like what's going to happen if we don't take that transition?
Yeah. That is one of the main reasons why I wrote this book as well, right? Because it's very clear to me, AI is transforming quickly. Is transforming our everyday life quickly, and if we don't find ourselves spiritually, which is something AI doesn't have. So AI doesn't have two things. AI doesn't have the spiritual part of it, right? It's just mimic our mind intelligence, but they can't really have a spiritual and emotional intelligence. They can pretend to have emotion by pattern matching, right? They're really good at pattern matching, but they don't have real intelligence, right? And if we equate logic and mind intelligence is all intelligence that we have, then the humanity will be destroyed, right? Because AI definitely can do a much better mind intelligence, like do much better logic and mind intelligence, right? And with quantum computing coming soon, there's no way we can compete if we're only talking about like mind intelligence and logic and 0 and 1. So spiritual intelligence and understanding beyond logic is our natural evolutions, right, to get there, right? So AI has because if you think about it, AI is a very structural system, right? It's a computer based. It's a very structural system. Human can experience non-structural experience, and that's where we talk about consciousness. We learn about the universe, right? And we talk about energy and frequency. All those are non-structural, and once we actually fully understand us as a physical human being, actually made out of atom, and which is basically energy and vibration. And from that, we understand all those are unstructured way of being, right? So as we start to learn and really open up to understand the unstructural part of our life, that actually is a much bigger part than the structural, which is AI, right, can understand so far. So because human can only understand so far the very structural reality, so does AI. So once we learn the unstructural and really tap into that, then the whole world changed. Then we would never be afraid of AI anymore, because AI can never replace us.
Yeah, and I see this happening with a lot of pop culture as well, like with famous celebrities. I saw on Instagram, I think a couple of weeks ago, Justin Bieber was also posting on his spiritual awakening and trusting with God, and like Taylor Swift and like many people are going into this deeper seeking in like
Yeah,
higher than just fame and money.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
why, yeah, life purpose is just,
Right, and if you like follow, it has been a few years now, right? Like I think Jason Shetty, he has an On Purpose podcast, and he did a good job, like actually interviewing a lot of. So the way how he expressed his purpose, is go through the celebrity route. So he do a podcast with all sort of celebrity, and really go deep with the celebrity. But I think that really creates a awareness of the spiritual awakening, right? The awareness of spiritual intelligence, and then and that itself, I think that's why is we can feel that the consciousness is accelerating very quickly, right? Like, and if you go back all the way with COVID and the pandemic, it was a forcing function for many of us to go within. That actually is the beginning of the kickoff, right? If you think about it,
so it's like that seed
the
planted.
seed of so many people went within. So many people start doing meditation, making sourdough bread, right? Doing things with hands. Like it kind of go back to the nature, the natural state, and not just the work, right? And then start to demand for more flexible time, and all this is start to creating a wave of consciousness and spiritual awakening, right? And now, as we are talking about this, right? If it's 5 years ago, it might be still a lot of woo woo, right? I think now a lot of the woo woo is no longer woo woo because one, science is catching up, but we cannot rely on science because science is like 2,000 years lag in terms of a lot of things that we can think of. So I think that and I do believe that even just by coming back to Hong Kong, now I'm in Hong Kong for 5 months now, I would say that I actually laugh about it. So many people after speaking to me, they say, I come out of my spiritual closet. Either a spiritual closet or like a cosmic closet. They came out of it. They feel okay to talk about woo-woo stuff. They feel okay to talk about aliens. They feel okay to talk about a lot of things that actually they were secretly searching, right? Like, and they're doing all the YouTube, right, and learning, but there's no one to speak to about this. And I think that was more, if we, right, you and I can normalize this more, and I think that's good. It's good for humanity.
I think one thing that I tell my friends, like whenever they ask me about this life purpose stuff, is I give them like a simple exercise, and this I think is what you should do with all of your life, which is you should just test it out for yourself, right? Like don't believe anything that you hear, don't believe anything that we're saying, but unless if you have tested it out for yourself, then you can't justify that as false.
Exactly. And I think that to add on that, right? So that kind of like be your own scientist, right? But on top of that, even though, right, the thing is like, even though there is no proof that science couldn't prove it, right? Your friend cannot prove it, but you experience it, that is your truth. And really holding on that is like, as long as I experienced it, that is my truth. I don't need other validation. I don't need validation because most of us, like when we have all this like one of a kind experience, then we doubt ourselves, right? I have certainty on that. No, that was my experience. Yes, I see spirit. So what? I do see that is right. So weird because not everyone have different skill set. Right? You have 8 billion people on Earth. We have 8 billion type of skill and 8 billion curriculum and experience. We are we are not supposed to be the same, but the society make us think we should be the same. Right?
Conformity, yeah.
Right? And I think that is one thing to really debunk it. I should have my own experience, and that is true to me, and that's all that matters. Yeah, and be your own scientist, and that's why I really like journaling, because I am my own scientist. I write down my own experience, and I just like, yeah,
Same.
that's mine. That is mine to have. I don't need any validation. Right?
I think this is a really good point to wrap everything up. And I actually want to try something, which is this rapid fire question. I've actually written down some of the most common questions that my teenage friends ask about life purpose.
Yep.
So one thing with these questions is, rather than explaining it in such a great detail, I challenge you to answer this in just 2 sentences. It's just really short.
Okay.
And there's just 5 questions for you. So the first question is, how do I find what I'm meant to do in life, and what if I never find it?
You find it by being the most joyful self, right? And then as if every day you do something that excites you the most, you will eventually find it. You will not find it in many ways, because you just need to do something that is more joyful than the other option. That's all.
And there's always something there.
There is always something you have to do during the day. Just do the one that is a little bit better than the other one. And if you just follow that thread, that's how you will find it.
So the second question is, what if humans have no set life purpose?
That is okay. Because, like I say, the purpose itself, actually, that is the answer, because there is no set life purpose. Your purpose is to evolve. So every day you live the fullest self. Every day you do something fun that you enjoy. You already complete your purpose of that day. That's all.
Third question is, what if my life purpose wasn't what I really wanted to do?
Then there is a mindset shift on what purpose, right? And I think throughout the podcast we talk about that. A purpose is not a doing. You can decide, you can be the basketball player, you can be a financial advisor, you can be a lawyer, doctor, whatever that is. That is how you express yourself, but that's not the purpose. Your purpose is a frequency within you that you want to become something, right? And that itself is just a kind of like a frequency signature. It's an energy signature, right? That you will search by, do the most enjoy the happier things that you want to do on that day. You will find that. And then from that, it just follow your heart as what makes your heart happy, right? Then that is the purpose. So by default, you cannot do you cannot have a purpose that you don't enjoy, because you have to follow what you enjoy doing to find your purpose.
And I guess another answer to that question is, like, it takes trial and error as well. So like maybe it's not the first time that you're going to find that purpose, but over time, as you adjust your values, as you continue living life, and as you continue understanding yourself, then you'll be more like aligned to it. It's not like you're going to be 100% like exactly like today I am living my purpose 100%. Like that's not going to happen. But it's like you can move closer to living a more fulfilled and, like discover more parts of yourself.
Right. And it's okay to change, right? One thing is that some people think, oh, I set a goal to this, and halfway through I realized that I didn't like it, right? Or I don't like it. And then, but because of ego or because of I need to see this through, but there's many reasons that people want to keep going. But actually it's like, no, if it's no longer find that fun or not enjoyable anymore, then do something else, and that's completely fine. And I think that was also a programming in us the thing that we have to push hard, work hard to get it done, to see it through. But sometimes your heart knows. So always follow the heart. And I think it's the key, right? And the heart knows, right? And you make your decision with joy, with alignment. And I think that's like, and not with fear, right? A lot of the time when actually that's a telltale sign when I decide to do something because it was a fear base. It was like because I scared of doing something, right? Then that fear base actually oftentimes lead us to the wrong direction.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about the fear in our following episodes as well.
Yeah.
So the fourth question is, how do you find your life purpose when you're always busy?
You can't. But that's why back to 3 minutes meditation, 5 minutes meditation, that's all you need. And if you cannot even find the 5 minutes, then the first step is to figure it out in your business how to automate 5 minutes of work. And then from that, figure out how AI can help you to save 5 minutes, and then you use that 5 minutes to meditate, and then go from there.
And yeah, guys, like AI can do all your homework.
Yes, exactly.
Just don't tell anyone.
So business probably is not a thing anymore in the near future with AI.
And it's just more about the alignment.
Yeah.
All right, so our final question to wrap up the podcast is, let's say I do find my life purpose early on. What's next? Nothing?
No, because it's remember what we say, life purpose is an evolution. You will not it will not stay still. If you find the life purpose early on, it just means that you find the first step of your purpose. You just think that is the purpose, but the purpose is ongoing, and never ending, and keep going.
And then it's that journey of experiences which
That is
builds
the
your
journey.
life. And
Yes. It will never end until the day you pass on, you leave this physical shell.
Beautiful. Well, Ryan, I think this is a really good way to end our first episode on life purpose.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you hopping on, and I'm looking forward to continue these conversations.
Yeah, and very good question, Bosco. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. And shout out to the engineer there as well, Amir.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Appreciate it. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.